For years, Spider-Man has fought the villains of New York City, but now faces an entirely new enemy, one that is not just taking over New York City, but the entire world. This villain doesn't go by the name of Green Goblin, Dr. Ock, or even Venom, but is known only as Fossil Fuels. But more about our friend Spidey later. For now, let's learn more about the enemy. What are fossil fuels? Fossil fuels, as their name suggests, are the remnants of ancient plant and animal fossils that are millions of years old. In the 1700s, we discovered that by extracting and burning fossil fuels, we could create large amounts of energy we could use to advance as a society. We harness this energy to run motors, generate electricity, and produce high-quality polymers like plastic, all of which have played an essential part in the creation of the advanced civilizations we see today. So I hear you asking, why then are fossil fuels so bad? Why are they the enemy? From what I can see, the world would be far worse off without them. But that's not entirely true. When it comes to aspects such as the environment, the Earth may in fact have been better off without them. They must be replaced. Whilst the human race highly depends on these resources, they are extremely harmful.
When fossil fuels are burned, large amounts of carbon dioxide gas are emitted. These become trapped in the Earth's atmosphere and are the leading cause of the enhanced greenhouse effect and global warming.
This global warming can lead to the melting of polar ice caps, decreased wildlife habitats, and even the flooding of low-lying areas. These graphs show exactly how the burning of fossil fuels over time has led to increased carbon dioxide emissions. To save the world from its dependency on fossil fuels, Spider-Man must come up with an alternative. He wonders what he could use. Aha! Hydrogen! Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, but there is only one problem. It does not exist freely. It is always bonded with another element. Hydrogen can be derived from a number of sources, like water, plants, coal, and natural gas. Today, in the United States, over 95% of hydrogen is derived from natural gas. But collecting hydrogen from natural gas is not escaping our dependency on non-renewable fossil fuels. Instead, Spider-Man wants to take the hydrogen from the water molecule. Water is able to be separated into its elements through a process called electrolysis. This process works by pushing an electric current through a compound to separate it into its various elements. But there's a problem with electrolysis. On a large scale, it becomes very expensive and requires a lot of energy. In order to replace fossil fuels and turn hydrogen into the ultimate energy source, Spider-Man would need to find an inexpensive way to make the electrolysis process more efficient. He thought long and hard about his problem, and then it came to him, an inexpensive catalyst that would increase the rate at which oxygen and hydrogen separate. Spider-Man was very happy. He had found a new way to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels. Or had he? Spider-Man remembered hydrogen could only be used to supplement our energy needs, but it couldn't be used to make plastics on which we are so dependent. To produce plastics, he would have to look at yet another alternative source, ethanol. Ethanol can be fairly easily produced through the fermentation of sugarcane juice and molasses. This ethanol can then be turned into polyethylene, the world's most widely used plastic. The problem with producing plant-based ethanol is that it requires too much farmland to be practical or sustainable, and can only be grown in certain parts of the world. Spider-Man discovered that if sugarcane were to be grown artificially indoors, it could be grown anywhere in the world in any climatic conditions. This would also reduce the impact on natural farmland used to grow food for people. Through Spider-Man's new innovative ways to produce hydrogen and ethanol, he is one step closer to finally defeating and replacing the destructive enemy that are fossil fuels. Obviously, Spider-Man is a superhero, not an environmental scientist, so he enlisted some help and collaborated with other scientists to help him come up with his ideas. Dr. Richard Newman is a chemist at the University of San Diego. He's an expert on chemical procedures and reactions. He was able to help Spider-Man with hydrogen as an energy source and the electrolysis process. Professor Will Stoffen, a climate change scientist at the University of Southern California, an expert on fossil fuels and the history of their use. Douglas Hoffman, an atmospheric scientist at the University of New Mexico, studying the effects of carbon dioxide emissions on our atmosphere. And finally, Professor Linda Cardellini from the Advancing Biofuels Research Institute at the Southern Illinois University, an expert on alternative energy sources. Thank you for viewing this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.